Santos Bonacci has performed an extraordinary amount of research. He has drawn his own conclusions, just as you are encouraged to draw yours. Enjoy.
The number 11 keeps turning up because it stands for duality. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Or 1111. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. 4 is the cube. The cube is the hex. Because when you flat pack a cube, you get a hex. And all of those numbers, 2, 4 and 6, they're feminine. They are even numbers, therefore they come from Eve. Eve is even, Adam is odd. So 2 was the number that Pythagoras spat on the ground, because he hated that number, you see, supposedly. Well, he didn't hate a number, he wouldn't be that stupid, but he knew how destructive the number 2 can be. And likewise the number 4 and the number 6. So you'll find that the elites will use that in their symbology. Look at 9/11, for instance. 9/11 is a classic case. When the Twin Towers on 9/11 came down, Saturn was in Gemini. And Gemini looks like, well, it's just two lines like that with a top and a bottom on it. So 2 pillars. And when they built the Twin Towers in 71 through 73, that was Saturn's other return when Saturn was in Gemini. And Saturn, as I said before, takes 30 years to go round in its orbit. So they built it in 71 and destroyed it in 2001. Now, and this was when Saturn was transiting Gemini, you see. So this 11 and the number 2 is very important to them, and it carries a lot of power with it, and especially in the Saturnian cult. I have touched on this in many of my radio shows and stuff, where I've spoken about all of the alignments that took place on 9/11. Quite incredible. In fact, I discussed there how Saturn was transiting the 9th house to the 8th house, in between the 2 plane crashes on 9/11. So on the first plane crash at 8:43 a.m., the Saturn was still in the 9th house, which is the house of travel.
8:46.
8:46. The Sun was still in the 9th house, which is the house of travel. And by the time the second plane crashed,
9:02.
9:02, yeah, 9:02, 9:03.
Yeah.
Guess what? Saturn was in the 8th house. That's the house of death. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. And there's many more alignments. I can tell you what was happening with Mercury. Mercury was on the ascendant in the sign of Libra, which is about justice. Pluto was in the sign of Sagittarius, which also has to do with religion, and the religious aspect of 9/11 was certainly a part of it. Pluto was squaring with the Sun in Virgo, and of course, as I said, Saturn was in Gemini. So that's 3 mutable signs and a square between the mutable signs. Mutability means change, and mutability, you see, change. So there you have the Sun, Pluto and Saturn in the 3 mutable signs squaring on that particular day, causing all these things to come about. And there's more, a lot more, but I won't go into it. But it goes on and on and on.